and welcome to another edition of Capagrata with a shot of expression and two squirts of reality. And today, you guys, I have one of my favorite co-squirts back in the house, back in the hot seat. Welcome, James Humecky.
Humecky. It's like
Humecky.
Hum-a-key.
I
Humecky.
am so done with
There
your
you
name.
go. No. You actually did better than most. So.
I did better than most. You know what? I eat shit every single time I say your name. Humecky.
Humecky. Yeah. Humecky.
Yo, and we're going
Which
to be
is really
humming.
healthy, by the way, to
Super
hum.
healthy.
You know that, right?
Yes,
It
yeah.
creates nitric oxide in the sinuses. It opens up the pathways in the brain, aerates everything. It's just a good thing to hum.
Opens it all up, and as a matter, and initiates the start of the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve, right? Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Absolutely. So it's great. So today I want to introduce this incredible guest that I have here again, who is fabulously a Marine, fabulously a somatic pleasure coach, intimacy coach, which I think is beautiful, who is also somebody who's extremely into connection, heartfelt connection. He's in this work because he truly is looking at how he can bring touching normalcy to touching again, normalcy to just the human aspects of intimacy and intimacy. From what I have seen and have observed of this guest here, is that he is in constant states of learning and expanding and then bringing it forward to you and opening himself up to bring forward his experience and teach you how you coaches out there who are interested or massage therapists. He's next level. This is taking somatics to like 2.0, which is what he's working on. And yeah, exactly. So he has a great bio, but the fact is that I'd rather give you my observation of who we're sitting here with, because there's some great things that we can uncover today. We were having some great thoughts before the show. And I'm just, so y'all get ready, sit back. I'm going to let James tell you all about himself just for a little bit. But listen, we're going to talk about skin. And we're going to talk about menopause, and we're going to talk about intimacy, and we're going to talk about fun. And well, wait a minute, maybe we might be looking at all this the wrong way. So stick around, share this out, please, my darlings. And if you're watching this later on, still do all those things. All right, James. So whom are you?
Who are you? That sounds like that caterpillar, on the Alice in Wonderland, right?
Yeah.
Who am I? I mean, the thing about it is what I do and who I am have like melded a lot more over the last few years. And I've been on a lifetime journey. I think you said it really well, of learning how to connect to myself and learning how to connect to other people, and with always this idea of like, there's a better way to live. Like somehow or another, we're missing the mark here somehow. I think that started when I read Jonathan Livingston Seagull back in the 70s.
We're missing the mark.
We're missing the mark somewhere. There's, it's like,
oh, ever figured that we were missing the mark?
Yeah.
How many times are we going to do that?
Well, that's the actual definition of sin, right? Is missing the mark. So what we're missing out on really is like this huge amount of pleasure and connection and open perception, and this understanding of how much actual power we have in our bodies and in our minds, and when we open up that perception to the millions and millions of bits of information that are coming in and through our body at any given second. It's the thing that people used to talk about like magic. It's not magic. It's actual human birthright, and the results are magical. Like we're just like, it just is mind blowing. Can I say fuck here? I'm sorry. I don't know.
Well, you just did. So yeah, you can fucking say it.
You beep it out or something. It's just really mind blowing. And so, it's been basically a lifetime exploration and process and growing experience, learning to figure these things out, you know? Because I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I was just like, God damn, how does this thing work? I'm just, you know, girls, what? You know, life, what? You know, it's like, and it's always feeling kind of a little fucked up, you know what I mean? Anyways, go ahead.
Well, I love, well, that's the basic humanness, though. It's such a messy experience. And this is what I love about these conversations, especially with you, is that we can really get into the messiness of it. You know, this is great. I go around and I hug strangers. I mean, I always hug. You know what, Richard? You rock, period. Just, you know, but hugging.
And you know, we the thing about it is I love my mess now. I mean, I love the mess. You know, I love, you know what? I'm in an Airbnb in Marina Del Rey. It's echoey. It's not my place where I'm usually at. But you know what? I'm not clustered fucked in my head around like, oh shit, everything's got to be perfect. You know, a few years ago, I would have been insane around this. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. It's like life is a never ending journey of ups and downs and ins and outs and rounds and rounds and rounds. It's never just still and stable. And one of the worst things that we've done as human beings is try to create stillness and stability in every given moment.
Right.
But that also comes from a human trait, which means I want security, I want my community, I want connection, right? So, you know, it's a catch-22, it's a paradox, you know? So if you don't want to seek out balance, you just want to enjoy it when it comes and recognize it. And go ahead.
Yeah. Well, don't you want to do things to bring that balance as well as see it? I mean, I know.
Right.
I explain, Willis.
Well, I mean, it's semantics in some ways, right? It's like, am I doing the things to get to balance, or am I doing the things and enjoying balance when it comes? Right? If my mind is set on a goal, I want to make $1 million. I can do all the things to get to $1 million, but I might really miss other things within that journey that could take me to 2 million or 8 million or the love of my life or owning an island, or, you know what I mean? And so you got to be able to do it all.
I got it. Okay. You're not attached to the outcomes. And you're practicing the art of non-interference.
Yes. It's the journey.
It's the journey. It's the journey. But okay, look, I know it's the journey. And we are here to experience it. We're here to feel it and all of those things. Let's talk about safety for a minute, because we're going to be talking about skin, and we're going to get into the psychological, the neurological, and the physical reasons why it's so important. But before we do that, and emotional reasons, let's talk about safety, because somebody once said to me, if you are requiring safety, are you then also saying that you're still in your victim space? And I said, this is a highly trained psychologist that said this to me. And I went, well, so when it comes to safety, I think it's an internal job that we need to do. And this reliance on another person to give it to me, I've been working on creating that within myself. And when it comes to touching, the safety required for me to be okay with that is pretty big. But is it their job or my job?
Right. Well, that's a yes and.
That's a yes and. Oh, great.
It really is, because, you know, kind of like wanting balance and like really seeking out balance. If you really seek out safety, you may just cut yourself off from like really deep learnings and understandings and that ability to, like what you just said, create that agency and safety and resilience within yourself. Because that's really what you're going for, right? So as a
Yeah.
practitioner, or a therapist, the person that's leading up the group or the session, it's incumbent of me to create the space where the client or the group can know that whatever comes up, they can actually process. And there's processes for the process. You know what I mean? There's steps to the process. There's ways of doing
Process to the
it.
process.
And sometimes sometimes it has to be really regimented depending on where you're at and who you're with and what's going on and what level somebody is at the time. As you grow, that regimentation becomes less necessary because you're more involved in the moment, what's happening in your body. And I'm just going to say, when we're getting ready to, that's a good segue into the skin and neurobiology and the nervous system and all of that kind of stuff. So we can bring that around.
So let's ask a question. So the question I have is, anybody out there really uncomfortable with being touched?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, that's okay, because I can sometimes be. Sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes it's just like, don't bug me, because just, and sometimes I do feel like it. I mean, I think that's the part of being human, but there can be actual traumas behind touching. And so I'm going to let you just take a little dive straight right into that.
Well, that's really interesting because, one of the, I don't know, early videos or something I made, I can't quite remember, but basically it was like, we've all experienced yummy, juicy, well, hopefully a yummy, juicy, loving, caring, healthy touch, sensual, sexual. And we've all also had that same sensation that you just described, kind of like, ew, and it's important to know, why you're feeling that way. That's when you learn about your trauma, you learn about your story, you learn about, I had a place in my neck where I couldn't have anybody touch me for years and years and years. And there was a very definite reason for it, from childhood. And I spent a long time working with that. I couldn't even like have a wonderful, loving person like kiss me on the neck and stuff, that yummy, juicy stuff. It was like, get away from me. Right. And now I just love it, like all of it. Ears, neck, shoulders,
Well,
it's all good. But it took some time to learn, like, to differentiate between this is something that's going on inside of me.
Yeah.
A trauma or an experience.
Correct.
And this is something where my body is telling me that person is not somebody I want to have do that to me. It's two different things with the same kind of reaction.
It can also be, can also just be you're tired, you're in overwhelm.
Well, yeah, right.
So
that's what I'm saying. That's your stuff, right? And that,
exactly, it's our stuff. And so but the idea is that if the skin is the largest organ on the body, and when we're being touched, isn't that just like an instant indicator that there might be something up, that you need some serious self-care and some resourcing going on anyway?
Yeah. So, it's really incumbent on us to learn the language, the sensate language of the body. One of my favorite books.
Oh, that sounds really good. I'm just going to give you the screen for a minute, because what did you just said? What?
You just said what? I don't have to remember what I just said.
The scent of the body, the what of the body?
So it's really incumbent. It's really important for all of us to learn the sensate language of the body. It's that language that is subliminal and nonverbal. But the body is talking to us all the time. It's taking in all this information coming from the outside, coming from the inside, what's the word I'm looking for? Proprioceptive and interoceptive kind of information. And it's translating that, and it's translating it against your experiences, your perceptions and your experiences, right? And then it's giving you a translation, basically. It's giving you a message, right? So if it's coming up against trauma, it's going to give you a message of, it's going to give you a message that's meant to try to keep you safe. So that somebody kissing you on the neck and you're going like, ah, right? And if that's from a trauma, my body is going like, don't let that happen. It's not safe, right? So it's really important to learn that so that like I said before, like I can tell the difference between, it's just that I don't want that person to do that, or I'm not in a place to have that happen, or there's something deep inside here, some kind of trauma experience, memory in the body, which can also be transgenerational and all that kind of, that kind of very expansive. And that is a place where I actually have agency, that I can change my inner state. So it's really important to know the whys, what's happening in your body. Touch, like the reason I really love this book, it's this author named Ashley Montague. I think I put this up one time, and it's called Touching. And it's got a subtext to it. I can't, the importance of skin or something like that. And it basically saying that our skin is just an outgrowth of our nervous system. Same cells, like when we're in vitro and we're growing, it grows out of the same thing. It's the same cells, right?
Right.
And so it is the nervous system, basically. And you can count it that way, right? It is the nervous system. It's just it's like the enteric brain, the gut brain or the heart brain, right? It's informing the brain about what decisions to make.
Y'all are hearing this. The skin is informing the brain.
Yes. So
do you know how this is huge? Like,
I love
yo.
Well, and then when you take it down into like the fascia,
that's so huge. It's just so huge because look, y'all walk outside, it's cold. Brain says, "Oh,
yeah,
okay."
Yep.
Snap to people. Your skin is wow. That connection is like so huge. You get into the fascia. Yeah, let's talk about that. Go ahead.
Well, and then also if you start looking at our language,
yeah,
you'll notice that a lot of how we talk is related to touch, because it's the first sense that we become aware of, and it continues to grow and refine throughout our whole lives up until the minute we're not here anymore, or this body is shot, or however you look at it, right? And so it's of vital importance. It brings in all kinds of information, and then there's just all kinds of other stuff about the skin, of how it protects you, and it breathes, and it's permeable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then I was coming into the fascia. So there's a lot of new research around fascia, and it's beautiful. I would suggest a YouTube video. It's called "Strolling Under the Skin," and a French doctor put little tiny cameras. What's the word I'm looking for? The little tiny cameras. Microscopic cameras. Anyway, underneath, inside a living body, and was able to actually film the fascia in situ, working in a living body. Up to that time, most of fascia research has been done on cadavers.
That is just absolutely. And so what did they discover?
And well, it's okay. I'm gonna go down a little bit of a wormhole here for just a second. Okay.
Oh yeah, wormhole it.
Strolling under the skin. Yes, that's perfect. Oh, Debbie. Yes.
Hi, Debs.
My brain just went off into a different.
So he would.
Okay, so anyway, he filmed that. It's showing how it's just this incredible network. It's hydraulic. It's almost thinks for itself. There's little tendrils that will shoot off, and then they'll look for another place to attach, and it informs you. It is constantly being informed and informing how you move. the fascia is just quickly one, the fascia is one thing that, let's say, like right now, I'm going to wind up to throw a ball. My fascia is already, where's my hand? Already responding, bringing my arm and all my muscles back together so that my arm just doesn't fly out when I throw the ball. It's just amazing. And so the other day I was watching another thing, Neil Grassin, the scientist, I forget his whole name there.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're talking about the fabric of the universe and describing it as like little tiny wormholes attaching all the different stuff together in actual particles. And the way they described it was like, that's like the fascia of the universe. That's like,
yeah.
And so, I went down that little wormhole for a minute. I'm going to not talk about that right now.
So the fascia sounds like the working networks that before the nervous system.
Well,
it's
also directly tied into your nervous system.
It has to be.
So you have different, I won't go into too much of the biology. That's not what we're talking about, but you have different areas of fascia that have different types of nerve endings in them. So when you get down to the tendons and the ligaments, it's a different kind of nerve ending. And then when you get into the thinner, more belly of the fascia, and then there's all the, as they go down deeper and deeper into the fascia research, then it's like it covers every fiber of the muscle instead of just around the muscle. It covers every cell instead of just around. So like, I think I talked about this the last time. The human body is not a bunch of separate parts. It's one organic whole. It's an ecosystem. It all is entwined like this. We talk about it in these parts so that we can understand it with our conceptual mind. Okay, we need tangible stuff. And when I think I'm actually going down another wormhole here a little bit too, but when you think about the body as being representative of nature, then you also begin to realize that how entwined we are, all human beings, the earth and us. And it's not an esoteric woo-woo thing. This is actually what's happening. We're always exchanging information. So coming back to the skin, when we begin to open our minds and our capacity to feel and to be aware of more of that information that's coming in, we have more tools, foundation, capacity to shift our inner states. And one of the things that I have figured out over the years is that when you open that kind of perception in somebody, and let's say that they're like, oh my God, my trauma, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Once they get that perception, a lot of that stuff just kind of melts away, because it's like, oh, it's not unsafe. Actually, this is just information that I can use to go in a more life-affirming direction, in a more, powerful direction. Does that make sense? And I don't want to get too, I feel like I'm getting a little off there, but.
Well, it's really about how do we tune in. When we're tuning into our bodies, and we're tuning into the fact that the reason it's so important is our body is speaking before that we're recognizing it in our cognitive spaces, So Deb says her fascia is, she has a lot of physical issues there. So it's interesting for her to hear this. She was diagnosed with myofascial pain.
Right.
I get it. I deal with stuff and all the time. So it is an important thing, but I think the more important thing here is about all of us as individual human beings recognizing the fact that we have skin.
And the skin is not just that outer layer.
Do you know what I did for my skin today? Can I tell you?
Yeah, do it.
I sat in my magnesium, sunk my magnesium claw tub for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did for my, I mean, we're talking Dead Sea. This stuff is
right.
I'm telling you, this stuff I have is so good. It's ridiculous. It's on Amazon. Okay. It's just so good. It's from the Dead Sea. I forget the name of it. 2 hours I lay in there. Plus I make my own spray, and for my skin, I use magnesium a lot and goat milk lotion because
Yeah.
I love my skin.
Yes.
I recognize I have skin. Anybody else out there recognize they have skin yet? Just curious.
And the care of your skin is one level of that. Now, when you care for your skin, let's just take it back into these ideas of intimacy and pleasure and connection, right?
Right.
When you do that, how much are you noticing? And I'm not asking you directly, but it's just like, how much do we notice how what the effects of that care are? Like, can we drop into the sensations in our body when we self care, whatever that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we self care, um, is it just that surface, like, oh, my skin feels soft and silky, or which is awesome. I like soft and silky. I'll tell you my secret for that in a minute. But am I aware of how that touch or how that care translates into the rest of my body, so that this pleasure here actually permeates, or I'm aware of how it's permeating through my whole body? In other words, it's like the tensegrity model by Buckminster Fuller, right? You push on one little piece and it translates into the whole structure. We push on one little piece and it translates into our whole structure. So what I'm encouraging people or inviting people to do is to, when you push on it, rub it, stroke it, whatever you do, get slow enough and quiet enough to feel how that permeates through your whole body. Now, maybe you can understand how that kind of idea translates into intimacy and pleasure and sensuality, and then we can also translate it into business and all kinds of stuff, but maybe you can see that.
Well, the fact of the matter is, people, first, if we've passed the first test, which is recognizing we have skin, the second one is number 2, becoming aware that you have sensations in your body besides my skin's being touched. That's good. As you feel it permeate through, which is, I think, a really brilliant thing, because it does lead into the other sensations. Creativity is made in imagination, which is made in our sacral chakra, which is all part of our sensuality, pleasure, and passion. So, y'all who are not listening to me right now and to James, what you're missing out on is your ability to be a kid again. Because really, if you really think about it, when we were kids, we were all doing weird shit, just doing whatever we wanted in our imagination and touching ourselves and touching other people and asking really odd questions. And we got shut down. And in that shutdown, we forgot what it felt like to be touched or to be human, even, you know?
Well, it's really interesting because I'm working with somebody now who is in that time of life, 67 years old, I believe, at this point. So earlier you were talking about menopause and the effect of that on, our capacity for intimacy and sensuality and connection, right?
Right.
And there's a disconnect because our bodies change and we're not willing to, or most of us fight the change, right? Because it's not, like, we're not our 20, 30, 40-year-old selves anymore. And
That's some bullshit. Can I tell you?
things aren't working the same way. And it feels like we're done, and I think especially for women, because, there's a bigger hormonal change, a much more prominent hormonal change. But why did okay, so going back to this is working with people, and this is really prevalent in my mind right now, and bringing them into that self-awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the understanding of when I touch here, it's permeating through my whole body. And then being able to actually verbalize what that feels like, like, oh, there is there's a opening in my chest. There's a juiciness, in my pelvis. There's whatever it is, has actually reawakened this person's libido at
Mm-hmm.
7. And it's kind of mind blowing, after some of the experiences of this person. And it's like, wow, this stuff really works. How do you get there? How do you get there? Right. So this is part of my work now, has become helping other therapists, coaches, teachers, to be able to cross the taboo line, of what is ethical, what is helpful, how do you talk about it, how do you get full consent, how do you create a container that is valuable, and I'll just use the word safe in that sense, of
Right.
like, how do you do that, so this is I've experimented with working with it myself, in myself, and then with clients
Correct.
in groups, of how that works, making all the fucking mistakes that a person can make,
Don't
right?
you love that?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Did
yeah,
I do?
no,
Did I?
no,
Did I? Yes.
yeah.
It's
But
it.
it is part of it, and now
Oh,
underneath
that
that,
did I do that, man? I swear to
mhm,
God. Oh God, the Urkel, the
Urkel.
Urkel, fucking life, man. Just it's the Urkel.
Yeah.
What'd you do? I Urkeled it. That's what
Well,
I.
there, and there
Yeah.
is, and what I feel like that I've developed at this point is a way of helping professionals to ethically and, um, without a sense of self, limitation,
Yeah.
to bring this work to their clients. You know, I was I was
Uh,
just thinking, I like to be bad, but I like to feel good about being bad.
Okay.
Where,
Well,
it used to be like,
getting
I just
getting up.
feel bad. So this is what I'm talking about, is like,
Yeah.
it's not about doing bad things. It's about looking at the taboos and the limitations, and saying, it's challenging those things, and saying, okay, I think we can actually do this in a way that doesn't hurt people, doesn't re-traumatize people, doesn't, you're not crossing legal boundaries. You're actually, there's a way of actually helping people and moving past some of those personal taboos and societal taboos.
Well, I love. Okay, so because the judgment of what's bad or what's not, it is just a taboo or what's not taboo. Listen, I took human sexuality and I've taken all kinds of different classes. And what I know is that it's really all it's societal.
Mhm.
What is taboo is societal. It's a construct,
And
Um,
we take it on personally, like,
well, we take it on personally. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So the that's a whole other level of conversation to talk about what is and what isn't
right.
considered. But it's also believe me, there's tribes in Africa that would not sit well with your societal beliefs today.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
you just wouldn't. You'd be like, ah, yeah, that's not right, and no, but for them it is, and so who are we to judge? But let's go back to let's just in this work. There, there's a lot of people who've had a lot of trauma. Anybody who's ever came from sexual trauma knows firsthand, and I speak of this firsthand, how hard it can be to even stay in your body, much less be touched, much less, or in woman, in my case, I'm an older female, so I didn't go the route of, oh God, don't touch me. I went a little bit on the flip side, a little bit too touchy. Sorry. and then had to reel it in, and then
Yeah.
go completely. My ridiculous stuff I have been through is just insane. Then I went like 4 years celibate. Oh my god, and all in the name of I not tuning in, not all the things that you've just said. Not tuning in, not seeing what's permeating, not understanding what's happening, not understanding consent or agency or any of those things. So vitally important to each of us as a human being. We were all born. You're sitting here watching this right now because somebody had sex.
What? Wait a minute.
Yet, where our society literally wants to shame, shame, shame. And in fact, you have to watch even what you say on social media because you might get in trouble.
Well, I just read an article the other day of how much funding has been taken away from sex research in the last 20 or 30 years. It kind of, there was a buildup, and now it's like getting shut down, and the people have to go private, get private funding to study human sexuality in this country at this point. It's not total, but I mean, it's sort of very Puritan in that way. I want to go back to something that you were saying, and we were talking about, the idea of leaving your body.
Yeah.
Right? So I this is not to deny anybody's experience or belief systems. The way that I approach those things is like, I think I talked about this the last time. The first thing I tell people is, you're not broken. You're not broken. All of that activity and that sense of trauma and the anxieties and that sense of separation are your natural. It's your body's natural reaction to try to keep you safe. So in a way, you have, let's start by knowing you're not broken. Let's start by celebrating your body for wanting to protect you. And it might still be protecting that 10-year-old kid that got whacked, somehow or another.
Might be, yeah.
Right?
I honor it, yeah.
You might be protecting, the person that grew up in a household that was very unsafe, or the person that got mugged or raped, in their 20s. I mean, it just, it'll sort of like condense around that moment, and that's muscle memory, that's body memory, that's the beauty and the miraculousness of our bodies and our skin and our nervous systems. It's like it knows how to protect us. Its real job is to keep us safe and help us thrive in life. Our whole system is about that. Look at nature, look at a tree, look at an ecosystem, and its whole job is about staying alive and thriving. Let's make more fruit. Let's make more things, more people, right?
Yeah.
So I start people out with that idea first off. And that's a huge step for a lot of people to get. It was a huge step for me to get through. I mean, I had to go through a lot of different things to kind of get to that idea of like, oh, wait, I'm not broken.
Yeah.
And I actually have agency in choosing the tools that I use to be safe in any given moment, right?
Right.
And I can grow these other parts of my body up. So that's the one thing. So the feelings and the sense and the experiences of being broken, of that there's another word for it. You use the term like out of body. There's because I actually
disconnect.
It's a disconnect, right? And that sort of is one of the things that sometimes creates, like multiple personalities. Like there's these.
What is that? Well, you know what? It is so true, though. It's so true. But detachment. Thank you. Deb. Thank you, Deb. Woo!
I mean, I had a huge experience with that.
Oh,
a few years ago of coming back, of being taken back to the moment when there was that detachment, and then having the parts come back together. It's metaphorical. You didn't actually, I mean, there isn't a thing that actually leaves and detaches, but it's psychological. It is psychological. it's a thing, you know what I mean? But that feeling of like, and it was a safety measure.
Right.
It was my body mind going like, we need to do this so that you can function over here in normal life, right?
Right.
And not have this just screwing you up every minute, you know? And then as I got older, I couldn't keep that up, and I had to like learn how to bring those parts back together, basically.
I don't know. I think being an adult is learning how to be a human in the terms of a 5-year-old. So, and
Yeah, kids got it all. I mean, they're just like, whatever. Yeah, sure. There's fairies.
kids know what's up. It's just, and if all of a sudden, because your nervous system said, oh, this is what worked when I was 3, this shit must still work, but it's not still working.
Right.
See, that's the
Well,
whole point.
that's the point that I'm trying to say is like,
Yeah.
it's still, your body mind, has coalesced around this moment or this memory or this, this body time. And then, we actually have the authority and the agency to begin to unwind that. So you can like, that's where like inner child work comes in. And, I mean, any of the myriad of other kinds of works that bring you
I'm doing
and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm doing EMDR for
EMDR is beautiful. The
well,
one
it's a
thing I
new
love
one.
about EMDR is that it doesn't use any sort of a metaphor to try to get you to go back to these memories. It actually, the way I've experienced it and what I have studied about it is that it is that sensation-based awareness. It is going back in like what's happening where right now in your body.
Correct.
It's very present, it's very here and now. And that's where you have the agency. You don't have the agency in what happened. You don't have the agency in what's going to come. You have the agency right now, like right now. And when your body feels that way, you can go like, oh, you know what? I can breathe. I can move my body consciously and mindfully, and I can use touch. I can use a sense of touch, and whether that's with another person, a therapist, or if it's rolling around on the floor, or if it's jumping in a mud puddle, or if it's doing things to yourself, I mean, it's all of that.
Absolutely, it is completely. I just Deb's on a roll.
Look
at her.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, that's definitely a thing out there for sure.
Present moment is so real because I'm never real stressed out when I'm just like here. It's only when that's not.
I get
if you're just here, you're here. But if you're not, you're stressing because if you're worried about the future or you're sitting in the past, because in both of those spaces you're out of control.
And the beauty of it is by bringing in that present moment awareness and coming into that nonverbal language of the body, you build the muscles in yourself, muscles, right? Metaphorical muscles. You're building the capacity, the tools, the wherewithal to be with the situations that come in the future and not feel like, the rug has been pulled out from under you or that you've just been completely bashed. I mean, people have used this kind of work being in concentration camps and being able to come into the present moment and hold that space and,
Yeah, they have.
And yeah, one of the things, and this is a very interesting statistic, it might be a little confrontational for some people, but when we learned this when I was in the military, when a person is being interrogated, which is another word of saying tortured, right? And they reach that point where they're just all of that pain and all of that psychological mind work,
all that warfare on the brain,
when all of that coalesces and that person just comes right into their present moment, it's an actual thing that happens. And somebody who is like very practiced at that, notices it and says, we're not going to get anything else out of this person. Might as well just either kill them or just quit, because they're just, it's this present moment. The way that kind of stuff works is like to get people out of the present moment into the fear of what's coming, right?
Right.
To basically it's into the fear of what's coming. Once they've crossed that line, there's just nothing else that can be done. And it's kind of a weird example, but that is a very intense example of how that happens. When we're right here in the moment, it just is like space opens up and goes. I mean, I have had that feeling. I know what that's like. It's just like, and it's been described to me. There's a lot of spaces that have that concept and call it a lot of different things.
I call it grateful beingness.
Perfect. Yeah.
Because that open space of when you're just present and you're just here, you're just the observer. You're no longer the one anything's being done to. You're just in this space of observing life. And in that space of observer, it's also the center of the eye of the storm. It's also the most resilient space to be. But it's
right,
the present.
because there's no such thing as just being an observer.
Yeah, it's just the present.
You're always an actor on.
Always an actor. There is no. You know what? It's being human.
The observer position, again, it's kind of like inner child work, right? It's necessary to sort of understand what that concept is and maybe play with it. But eventually, there was something years ago I used to say, like, that the metaphor of butterfly, a caterpillar to butterfly, the cocoon and total breakdown. And then you break out into this, beautiful being. And then what?
Well, then you die.
So my question that drove me for a lot of years is like, okay, what does the butterfly do now? Because you know what? Once you've reached that space,
what does the butterfly do now?
Responsibility to be an actor in life.
Okay.
You have the responsibility to be.
I like that. I can be responsible for being an actor. The fact is, that's where we all are. Anywho.
Consciously or unconsciously, we're all acting.
Consciously, yeah. It really doesn't matter. Let's just do it subconsciously, because that unconscious stuff. So, all right. You have something really spectacular coming up again. And tell everybody about it. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to grab the link for everybody. I'm going to put it in the chat. And it's also in the description above.
Yeah, and I was also wondering, is there any way that I can put link in here somewhere?
Yes.
Did I just go off?
No, you're good.
Okay.
I did that.
Oh, you did that? Let me get this for you. Here we go.
Everybody, listen, I am so stoked you're here. I hope that, seriously, that your weekend coming up is going to be rock star. This last few minutes, I want James to really talk about the importance of intimacy. Into me, I see first, because it's a really important discussion. We think we learned today that we all have skin. I hope. And if you don't, I'm sorry.
All right, I just put a link in the chat. Maybe you can grab it out. I don't know if you can grab it out of
Oh, I love this. I can. This is fantastic. Okay, everybody, here's the chat. Hi, Allie. How are you doing?
This is what's coming up. The first thing that's coming up is on the 29th of September. There is another webinar, and we're going to be doing these webinars, like probably about once a month. And they'll be recorded in such a way that they'll be available underneath my coursework, and something that people can get into all the time. It's Touch Mastery 2.0. So it's taking the last webinar and just deepening into a lot of what you and I are talking about here.
Touch Mastery 2.0.
2.0, like very technical. And then you'll love the next one is I am running a 4-week, I'm calling it a boot camp. I'm just going to call it a boot camp because it's focused and it's intense. There's a lot of information going to happen. It's called Somatic Touch Boot Camp. Somatic Touch Boot Camp, right?
Okay, Somatic Touch
And
Boot Camp.
my team is like, boot camp, huh? I don't know, but I'm like, let's do it. We might change it anyway. It doesn't really matter. The point is it's going to be a really intense. It's every week there's going to be an hour and a half group call, and there's going to be resources and homework and activities between those times, and we'll come back together and we'll discuss that and refine it. And then towards the end of the boot camp, each person that is registered and that has done the boot camp will get a one-on-one with me personally.
Well, I think that's awesome. Now, what is a one-on-one with you personally?
Yes, a one-on-one, like a 45-minute one-on-one online. I wish we could do it in person, but so there's only 7 spots. Yes, 7 spots. The first 3 spots, the first 3 registrants get a very special price, $279, right?
Okay.
Everyone else after that is $479. And this is because this is the first time we've run this. This is a very special price anyway, because the next time that's definitely going to go up. So that's what's happening. The webinar, Touch Mastery 2.0, and then the cohort that's opening up the boot camp, 4 weeks. October 6th is the first day. There's a registration right now. I think you can get on the waiting list, and you'll get an email with how to pay for it, etc.
That's a good price, actually. You guys, $279 is not bad. Listen, I could spend $300 on a drop. I don't know about y'all, but I could blow $300 in a second. I'm serious. Like, the thing about it is that in life, if this is drawn to you, do it, because you have to do the things you're drawn to. Mm-hmm. If you have any issues with touch, you probably should do it. If you are already a massage therapist and you'd really like to see how to expand in that business, I think it'd be a really great idea for you. James, what I know is that I went to your last meeting behind the scenes, and that you can have much more open, in-depth, real conversations than we can here online. We can talk about things and say things that we're kind of encapsulated with the online method that we're using here. So go to the boot camp, check it out, and ask the questions that you're burning to ask, but you can't ask because you're like, yeah, that's public.
Well, and also just so everybody knows that when you sign up, you're also going to be given access to a private Telegram group.
Okay, cool.
And I want to clarify this, is that the boot camp is geared towards therapists, intimacy coaches, relationship coaches, somatic therapists. And massage therapists too, because I know that as a massage therapist, that's where I started, right? There was all this stuff around touch. I know massage therapists that don't like to be touched. It's just kind of weird. But anyways,
I know people who don't like to be massaged, and I look at them like they're crazy.
So this is for people that want to expand their own perception, and people that want to bring more touch-based work into their practices.
I love that. So please join. The links are up in the description as well as right here in the chat. You guys need to check it out, because this is probably one of the most fun topics, because we all have skin, as we've already established like 10,000 times. You have skin. And if you have skin, are you touching yourself?
I hope so.
You could make so many t-shirts. Yes, I touch myself.
Yes,
yes, I touch myself.
I'm touching myself right now.
I'm touching myself.
Especially if you think about the idea of like we are all one, and we're all part and parcel. We're all touching each other all the time.
We're all touchy. You're a little too touchy.
Used to it, like being cognizant of it. And this is a wonderful time, Debbie. I appreciate your presence and your expansive, big energy. This really is fun to play with.
Thank you. I love that. And I appreciate you being here. You've got it in your I love it. Once again, it's been super to have you. I want to have you back in a couple of weeks. 3 weeks. So, but this next time we're going to get in, I don't know. I might decide not to do it live, and I might decide to do it completely behind the scenes. I don't know, you guys. We might see. Maybe James needs to finish his boot camp, and then when he gets ready to start his next one, I'm not sure. But when I think about you, I touch myself. Yes, I want you to think about me all weekend, Deb. When I touch myself,
Yes. Yes.
I love that. Okay, y'all.
And menopause is not a death sentence to your sexuality. It's actually it's a way into a whole new. We didn't really get into that. Maybe we should do one just on that.
We'll do that one on next one.
It's a doorway into a whole new realm of sensual pleasure. I'm telling you.
We have to get into this. Is why it might not even be live. We might have to do this offline, because the fact is that we people that go 50 and over, now I'm 56 and I'll be 57 in January. And I want to tell you guys, when we get to this place, we have to relearn each other. I can't expect my body's going to have the same experience as it did back when I was 35.
But remember, touch is a continuously refining sensation in your body. It's the one sensation that actually continues to get more and more sensitive.
You know, I think that that's true. And really, I think touch is where it all begins. Because I don't know about y'all, but that's where it started. I remember being touched. I was held as a baby. I was touched. Mm-hmm. So touch is definitely one of the top priorities that we should all be looking at a little bit more carefully. And don't forget,
a little more in depth. Yeah. Like really bringing it in to our everyday moments and get rid of the stigmas around and normalizing touch. Just
all right.
All right.
So people, we're going to talk about menopause and woman pause when we come back in about 3 weeks. Men go through some pause. I'm not sure what that pause is, but there is a pause. And there's a pause for us all because we've entered into the space of 50 something.
I'll be 60 in November, so.
Oh, that's rock star. Well, you know, look, I think 50s is boot camp for 60. Mm-hmm. Serious.
Yeah, I'm down now. I'm good. I'm ready to go.
I've been good. I've been good since age has never been a thing for me. The fact that our bodies do go through a big, gigantic change after 50 is the biggest truth I've ever experienced in my life. And it wasn't right at 50. It was about 52, 53.
Right.
Before that little creeper.
Some people it's earlier and some people it's later.
Yeah, totally. Fact is, we're all just human. And you'll be double. I love that. She'll be double nickels. You guys all rock. James, you are just absolutely incredible. Enjoy the beach for me today.
I will.
I'm going to go enjoy the mountains. And 3 weeks, let's talk about menopause.
Okay.
And touch. All right. Have a great boot camp.
Thank you.